Hello and welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by David Goldberg, the CEO of SurveyMonkey. David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, let's kick off with what SurveyMonkey do.
We're the world's largest online survey business. We help people make better decisions with data. So people use our tools to create surveys, send them out to people they have relationships with, and then analyze the data they get back, and allows them to sort of make decisions with data. And we're in a world where people need to make data-driven decisions a lot more.
That really changes businesses, the way that they operate. What are some of the ways that you've seen that change?
So people use us for a lot of different uses. I mean, I think typically when people think of surveys, they think of customer surveys, and certainly we get used for that. But we get used for many other things. Employee surveys is a very big use case, so employee satisfaction, feedback, but also really casual things like where should we have the company Christmas party, or what kind of food should we offer in the cafeteria, to much more complicated surveys. And the same thing is true with customers, but also we're used by a lot of organizations that aren't even companies. So about half our business is in education, nonprofit, or government. Schools surveying parents or teachers, government institutions surveying citizens as well as their employees. So lots of different use cases, but at the end of the day, people are trying to gather data from a group of people to make a decision.
Right, that's interesting that you raise all of those different case studies there, because when I think of it being a small business operation, but obviously it's not a small business product.
No, I mean, we get used by small businesses, but big businesses as well. Almost every big business in Australia uses us. They have both. We have both free and paid versions of our product, and we're very, very broadly used across all different sectors of the economy.
So how do you see businesses using these data? One of the things that I always worry about with these is that you end up with the Excel spreadsheet or the Access database type problem where you've got so many surveys you don't know what to do with them. How do you see companies managing that?
Well, I think people get pretty used to sort of saying, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. So people start off with here's a question I need to answer, right? How happy are my employees? What do my customers think of my new product? What do parents think of what we're doing at school this year, right? All those kinds of questions that need answers. And so the survey is a really easy, fast way to gather that information in a structured way from those people and then analyze it. And we make the analytical tools really easy. So it used to be something that people needed very sophisticated tools, a lot of experience in training, and we're now kind of democratizing that and pushing that out to anybody who wants to sort of collect that data and make a decision.
It's interesting that point that you raised there, because when I talk to market survey people, they're quite scathing about you.
Right.
But you've got an attitude that it's actually good for them as well. How do you reconcile?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are not necessarily replacing market researchers. Most people who come to SurveyMonkey to use us, we're not using a market research firm before.
Right.
They were not doing anything before at all, or they were maybe using email or a paper and pencil survey.
Right.
So what we're doing is making a lot better structure around that feedback than what they were doing before. And so that's beneficial to everybody. And it actually probably creates more demand for more sophisticated market research down the line. But lots of organizations, whether they be small businesses, government, nonprofits, can't afford market research, period. So for them, this is the only option. And even in larger companies, people use us in combination. Right. But yes, you're right. A lot of market researchers kind of look down on us, but it's more because I think they feel like they're losing control.
Yeah. So you think it might be more that the training of the people that are creating that, they probably need a bit more idea of what...
Yeah, I mean, so we try to help people by giving them templates and questions from our question bank that they can use, because one of the tricks to getting good data out of a survey is asking the right question up front.
Right.
If you ask the wrong question or you ask the question incorrectly, you're going to get bad data on the back end.
Yeah.
So we want people to use great questions, because that's how you're going to get good data on the back end. But it's not like market researchers always write great questions or great surveys either.
Sure.
So, we think everyone could benefit from writing great questions.
Right. Now, one of the big changes that you're seeing in your industry, as many others are, is going mobile, and you've recently launched a mobile app.
Yeah.
How do you see that changing the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so we've seen a lot of our users taking surveys on mobile, and obviously we've had an optimized survey response experience on mobile. But we wanted to create a mobile app for our survey creators, who are really our customers.
Yeah.
And so we launched that a couple months ago. It's going incredibly well. And we're really seeing there are some users who are new to SurveyMonkey who are creating surveys only on mobile for the first time.
Right.
We have other people who go back and forth between the mobile app and the web. So they might have written the original survey on the web, but they might be editing it on the mobile. They might be seeing the responses as they come in. So people are working kind of multi-mode.
Right.
And I think that's just sort of the trend. That's the world we all live in. We kind of now expect things to just work on mobile and on your computer equally, but obviously the experience needs to be pretty different.
Yeah. Now, with yourself, you've been through startups, you've been through Yahoo, and now you're at SurveyMonkey. How are you seeing business in general changing with all of these technological changes?
Well, I think we're still very early in sort of a lot of the changes that are happening. I mean, I think people talk about the cloud. I mean, ironically, SurveyMonkey has been a cloud-based service since its inception 14 years ago, and now we're starting to talk about it in the last couple of years. But I think we're going to really see the advantages of being able to tie all these services together.
Right.
And that's still early on, but I mean, we're seeing a lot of value for our customers as they start to tie SurveyMonkey together with other applications that they work. And that's really kind of the promise of where we're headed, is tying all these things together so that they all work in combination, as opposed to sort of siloed into very specific narrow vertical applications.
Right.
That's going to be really exciting for people. I think we're also still really early on in mobile. Right now, we're doing with mobile what we did with the web in the early days, which is just take things we were used to in the analog world and put them online.
Yeah.
And then we developed really unique things for the web. I think we're still in that stage of taking things from the web and putting them on mobile, but not necessarily thinking about, well, what's unique to mobile? What are unique things that we can do with mobile? I think some things, location is obviously, so you see services like Uber, which we use today here in Sydney. It works very well. That's a mobile app. It has to be. And so that's like kind of a unique mobile app. So we're starting to see those things based on location, but I think we're still early on in taking advantage of what mobile has to offer for people.
Yeah. So we've spoken about mobile. We've spoken about cloud. The other big buzzword, of course, big data, and you're very much part of that. How do you see businesses managing big data?
Yeah, I think people are drowning in it, and so really the trick is figuring out how to use it to again kind of make decisions. That's what people are using that for.
Yeah.
So we think about it in this way of there's sort of implicit and explicit. So implicit is generally what people think of when they think of big data. It's like stuff that's being collected while you're doing something else in the background.
Right.
You didn't actually tell anybody anything. You just went to a site or walked around and your phone tracked where you were going. That's sort of what people think of as big data a lot of times, and that's implicit. And that implicit data is really interesting. There's a lot of it. And it tells you what, but it doesn't tell you why. And so if people are not all of a sudden not buying something on your site that they were buying before, you can see that in the what, but you don't know why. And so we think about what we do is the explicit side. You got to ask people to get the why. You can't just look at what's happening implicitly and figure it out a lot of the times. And so we kind of think they're both important. They work in combination with each other, but you need kind of why at scale, which is sort of what we do in combination with the implicit. I think obviously that trend is going to continue. There's going to be more and more data. I think people are going to have to get much more literate about how they use data. Everybody in an organization. It's not going to be something that just a few people analyze data in a corner. Everybody's going to have to understand how to use data.
So you see it as being breaking out of the silo, if you like, and across the organization.
Yeah, I mean, someone was asking me the other day, what kind of skills should you teach your kids today to prepare them for the world of the future?
Yeah.
And And I think there's lots of things that kids need to learn, but probably the thing we're not doing enough of today is teaching them how to analyze and think about data.
Right.
Not how to, I mean, coding and writing programming is also really important, but I think what people will really like understanding how to think about data and statistics and analyze that, that's just going to be necessary in anything you do going forward. Even if you're just an academic, you need to be able to do those things.
Sure. So just to conclude on, David, what's your number one tip for businesses to make the most out of tools like SurveyMonkey?
I think people should come to it and sort of figure out what are the questions you're trying to answer, and then figure out, can those tools help you solve those questions? And we try to do that. We try to make it easy for people. But I think, in general, we should be creating a lot of value for you because we're helping you answer a question that you couldn't answer before.
Well, thank you very much, David.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining Decoding the New Economy.